high 75.
Whoa, save it for the show.
Wait, hold on. Is it gonna rain today?
Hey, everybody.
Are we live?
I'm Luke.
I'm your weatherman, Tex.
Oh.
Tex, what's going to happen today?
It's going to rain today.
It's going to rain.
Thank God.
Oh,
So we got a high of 75.
that's not good because I gotta have the intern stain the barn.
What was he doing all day yesterday?
I was
Sorry.
The
too hot. So it was over 90, and then when I looked at the temperatures on like the ranges, and I remember the mistake when I stained this floor, it was way too hot, and it never came out the way I wanted. So I was like, and then I saw
Is the paint outside? Like, are those boxes the paint or the stain?
Well, they were inside, and I told him just to flip them upside down, but he took them outside.
I think I thought I saw boxes outside, and I thought they were outside because he was going to get started and wait for it to cool down in the evening. But I did find it to be bizarre that one would let the paint sit in direct Texas sun, or the stain, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, my comment was, hey man, just flip them right over. If you flip them over 24 hours, all the stuff finally floats to the bottom. You flip them back over, and then you don't have to stir them. Because I was thinking like, he'll probably spill everything when he stirs it, so just flip them over. But
I mean, he should be starting at 70 right now. It's too hot now for him to be doing it?
No, but it's a little dark out, and I'm assuming that.
Man, you are going soft on this kid.
No,
I'm just messing with you.
it's not no, but I try so. This is where I make mistakes. I try to lay everything out as simply as I can, and I think I just assume things like, hey, what I should have said was like, hey, flip them over exactly in the same spot they are so they're cool inside the barn, because I never would have imagined that he would have brought them outside.
I can't remember if it was John Wooden or Ben Franklin. It's like, keep things simple, not simpler. So I don't know, it's tough for this particular individual. Are there enough like exact things that we need? You know what I mean?
I've gotten to the point like when he said, hey, is it okay if I have my truck towed to the shop? I didn't know that means, hey, can I take my truck apart on your driveway? Which I just should have been like,
It's running, right?
it took him 5 days to do a 2-hour job.
But he did it. Big win for the intern.
His dad had to come help
I didn't see that one coming.
and get all the parts because he bought the wrong parts.
Send some sarcasm, Luke.
Laying on pretty thick. Poor kid.
Oh
Man,
okay.
So I am so excited for that 75-degree day. As much as it delays the stain on the bar, it's going to be a good day because we've got a podcast today. So we're not forced to keep the AC
Who's our
off.
podcast today?
Dr. Kara Miller.
Oh,
Miller.
Wow.
Queen C, as I call her. I love that girl. Woman, I guess. She's smart. She has some real good content.
I don't know how smart she is. I think she pretends to be smart.
If she's pretending really
And
well.
she's pretending amazing.
I mean, I pretend to be smart as much as I can. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. We know.
What does that suppose? Where's the positive reinforcement, guys?
This
Like,
is the
no, you're
morning
not.
You are
roast.
an idiot.
What is this, a roast? Morning roast? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Power... I'm
Normally it's
going to
only
change
direct-
this angle here, I think.
It's only usually directed at text.
Yeah, I'll take it. Thanks for tuning in to Sipping Brew with the Crew. Welcome to the morning tradition of here at Power Athlete HQ. We peel back the curtain, let you know what Oz is doing, the Wizard of Oz is doing in Oz, right?
I don't think we're Oz.
How-
it's a
how so?
negative connotation.
How is that a negative connotation? Oz does not operate without the wizard, ruling with the iron fist.
And then he's some wiener behind a curtain. I think better of us than that.
Yeah, but what makes us not wieners is we peel back the curtain constantly. If life were a trench coat, we're open all day. You know what I mean? We're just flashing
'cause
everybody
it's
everything.
so hot in
the
the
good, the
barn.
bad, the ugly.
Well, dude, it was so cold in that room the other day. I walked in and instantly got like high beams on.
Well, because we're doing contrast baths.
So I don't know
Come
what
on
you're
here.
bitching about. It was fucking 60 degrees in
It's
there.
lovely in the air conditioning room. It certainly is. But then you like have to venture out into the Sahara to get.
And we didn't go in there until the meeting. So I did announce I'm prepping the AC for the meeting.
That's right.
So we at least delayed until 2. So we put it off and only used that chill room for necessary expenses.
Peak
we don't wanna,
hours.
Yeah, we don't want to waste the
AC. I don't know if we can.
Because if it goes down, it's only getting, it's only getting hotter.
Texas on fire today. What's up with this guy?
If it goes
Sure.
It's got to be the shoes.
Old school.
It's got to be the shoes.
Well, I'm excited for today's
the
topic.
most expensive blanks we've ever bought.
Those are probably.
Yeah, they were. They like I remember like the
It's
best
only
deal.
one color.
Well, the best deal I could get was like $40. So I was like, oh, we gotta have them.
Yeah, and then followed probably by the Hurleys. Hurleys were $37.
Yeah, they were
Those
expensive.
shorts. But
And then the printing was expensive.
embroidery, you
Oh,
got to
yeah.
digitize that. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they were. I remember we were selling it for like $60, and I'm like, oh, I think we're gonna break even.
Yep.
This is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
They sell out.
Yeah.
Maybe probably had 182 X's left over. Well, who's not buying these 2 and 3X rugby jerseys?
Well, they're pretty snug fitted.
I
And
know.
then I think
No, I don't think there's
I think
that.
Callie has a bunch of them. Every time I see Callie come in, I'm like, is that a different shirt? No, this is the same one. She just grab like a box of them.
But let's
And
see
now
where
that
we
she's
at.
Prego, she's probably wearing the triple X.
Could be. Yeah. That's right. TikTok, Callie, about until you pop, a month, I think, month and a half. And then little Hinsman's little Darth Hinsman, Dark Invader.
Is she gonna name him her Anakin? What's Leia?
Ray.
Leia.
Ray.
I thought you were a big Star Wars guy.
I've seen them all once.
Wasn't yesterday May the 4th?
Oh yeah, we missed it.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you.
It's funny.
It's a big day for them.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't hear from Kelly. She's
Yeah.
probably drunk at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Or
Watching.
watching 12 hours of the Star Wars movies.
Never really got into them.
Yeah.
Not enough like real violence, I think, for the Summers family.
Nobody said, well, I can't say that I dislike them. I enjoy watching the movies. So
Yeah, I'm not against them either. You know, but like, you know, in the early 90s, if Steven Seagal wasn't dislocating an elbow, 80% chance we're not going to see that movie. That's
So
what
your
we
dad
did.
was that in love with the death and the violence and the beatings.
Oh
huh?
yeah, that was great. That was fun.
I'm with it.
I got to admit, I'm a Steven Seagal fan.
Celebrate his entire career.
Well,
100%, man. Those movies are great.
Yeah, the early stuff is great, and then he just
Speaking of, he's never seen Hard to Kill.
really.
That's a rite of passage into action cinema, dude.
You mean the one where he's
Hard to kill.
Nico, where he's like the cop,
Yeah,
the
so
Italian
is
cop,
his
and
name
then the
Nico?
dude like kills his partner.
No, so this I think is like a different one.
It's a good plot.
What's the one where like
So
he
this is
goes
the
into
one-
the pool hall and just fucks those dudes up with the ball in the
That
towel?
might still be Hard to Kill, but the plot of this one is he's undercover, or no, he's doing like a surveillance, catches for like some big kingpin, catches what he considers to be like ironclad evidence, but then as he's peeling out of this surveillance, makes a noise, and his location's given up. And they kind of go, chases ensues, he thinks he gets away, but probably underestimates the resources of said kingpin. And later that night, as he's going on with his life, he hides the tape.
Oh, this one with Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great
And the
one.
kingpin or the thugs roll in and like try to massacre his family and him. And they think they do. But little do they know,
He's in a coma.
that's right.
Yeah,
His
yeah.
partner takes him, ships him out to some remote hospital with some smoke show nurse, and slips her, 20, and is like, hey, listen, if this guy wakes up, you call me. Cut to 20 years later or something. Steven Seagal has this big wispy beard,
Yeah.
long hair, and comes to. And she calls him. And then revenge.
Ensues.
It's great. It's great. The rehab.
I love the
montage
rehab
there.
thing when he's like sprinting up the hill and he's like punching the board with
Yeah.
a rope wrapped around
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's a great movie.
I can remember my dad being like, you want one of those in the backyard? I'm like, yeah. And I'm just imagining, in hindsight now, like, Hard to Kill, just like an 8-year-old punching at that fucking board to and fro all the live long day.
Did she actually make the board?
I doubt it. And maybe if he did, it didn't shake out. I probably wouldn't punch that board too much.
You're like, ow, hurt my
Yeah.
knuckles.
I'm good, Dad. What I did
Hey,
have,
did you punch that board today?
So what I did have in the backyard is we played, it was Pop Warner football. It must have been 5th or 6th grade, and we played a team in Elgin. And they had this man-child that just trucked our team. Like, he wasn't overgrown or anything because his weight class, he weighed in. But this kid was just, would plow and was impossible to tackle. And the rumor amongst the dads was that kid drags a tire filled with cement around his backyard every week. And that's how he's learned to run so hard. So guess who ended up with a shoulder harness and a tire? He used to drag that tire to and fro all the live long day. Tried it for a year, didn't really help.
Mooney's dad was a high school football coach at a different district, so he was doing all like high school workouts, dragging shit, and I mean, it worked for him.
Yeah. Maybe should have just got like a prowler, But it was just it was prohibitive because it was not like, maybe I just wasn't strong enough. Maybe the harness wasn't good enough. But like I could not fucking get that thing. Like I could not maintain. Like I just remember peeling over and like going slow and fucking dragging it, versus appropriately loading and not interfering with the patterning. If I could go back, that's what I would tell myself.
Get a prowler instead of dragging?
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Didn't we do that episode before?
Yeah, that's me.
The one thing. God damn it, that tire.
And then that tire fucking sat there for like 2 years.
With the harness
It's
attached?
still there.
No.
It's still there.
I probably should. That would be a fun thing to have kept and pass on to my daughter.
Hey, I brought you my whole
Are your
tire.
parents in that same
Yeah.
house?
Uh-huh.
So odds are it's there. Aren't they hoarders? You
Yeah,
inherit
no,
that?
my dad is very much, I don't know, his hoarding is more well thought out and calculated, and there's odds he will use the things he doesn't throw away, because he doesn't then acquire new ones. Where mom is more like, just buy 6 of this, and we'll just have them just in case.
Well, that's good. It's like you're in quarantine.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like,
Yeah, they're fine.
Or if you're, we're home visiting, we're like, we need some obscure gift card. Not like gift card, but like, Mom, do you have baby's 4th birthday card? She's like, yeah, I have like 6 of them. Which one would you like? How many iterations? She's like, I have one, up through 1 through 18. I have 10 of each for birthdays. What anniversaries do you need? Like bereavement. She just has like, she is Hallmark.
Yeah.
So, like that's.
What's your bar mitzvah situation?
I only got 13. So that's how mom rolls.
Well, that's good. Some good hoarding. My mom sold her house.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So
Done?
52 years. She put it on the market right at the beginning of quarantine. So she was a little nervous. She's like, the home isn't selling. I'm like, I don't think people can leave their house, Mom.
Yeah.
They can't show homes.
Did she have to like drop or anything? Drop price, or
No.
people were buying?
No, she came in as soon as like they lifted like the quarantine for real estate agents. The people got to walk through, and I guess you're still gonna laugh at this, but this young couple, I guess, was like they came in on an all cash offer, which is crazy. So their parents must have loaned them some dough. But I guess after the quarantine, they realized that they had too small a house, and like just went out and bought a way bigger home.
Oh, because they were living together and they didn't want.
Yeah, because they're married and then they have a baby, and
Yeah.
I guess they were in some small place and they were like, we need a bigger house.
Yeah.
And they went out and like came in strong, all cash offer, 17-day close.
Wow.
So they came in all cash, and my mom's been out of the house and it's all ready to go. So the people were like, can we close next week? And they were like, oh. And they came in all cash, and so my mom's like, they're probably going to be in there in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, my mom's home, like they didn't stage it, nothing. It's totally empty, already ready to go.
Good.
So.
Did they fix the wall with the painting, the mural?
So those got removed. So the Surfer Museum went through and cut them out, and then they replaced it, made it look like it was seamless, like it never went. So the pictures, it's actually pretty good because they took them and they're going to display them at the Surfer Museum.
Did your family ever think about covering up
No.
the paintings?
No, we never would have painted them over. My parents actually, when that room got painted, like hired a dude to come in and like they painted up, and then the dude like hand painted around the stuff. So my parents had like paid people to like
Maintain.
preserve and maintain them. It's pretty amazing. They were painted in what, 1963? So pretty amazing. I keep hoping she gets like a sweet valuation. They're like, oh, these are worth $1 million, so we'll give you $1 million tax credit, and then she could like get money back from the government.
Yeah.
So that would be cool.
Is she like? Is that a load off of her consciousness?
Yeah, like I mean, so I was thinking about this. So my mom was 26 when they bought that home. Now she's 80. So like she, you know, like it was like, so I think she, you know, she's in a cool, like a better place now. Like there's not nearly as much like upkeep. It's smaller. It's all new. But I think like, you know, like, I mean, shit, can you imagine, like, you move in that place, you live there from the time you're 26 to you're 40 or 80, what's that, like, 50, 54 years? You know, so the thing I was telling her is, I was like, Mom, how cool is it that, like, you know, you raised your family and now you get to sell to another young family that gets to come in and raise a whole nother family, like kids running up and down the hall and all that. Like, I think she's cool with that.
Yeah.
So I think if, like, somebody had come in and bought it as an investor, or, like, somebody who like wasn't a young family,
Like rolled up in a black Lambo, leather sport coat.
Yeah, what a douchebag.
Rip up the floor.
No mustache.
Still that guy. Fucking, what a dick.
But that's on the market, correct?
Yeah.
Your old house.
Yeah, the guy wants $3.5 million for it. And the crazy part is he converted 2 of the bedrooms into like, I don't know what the fuck that is. So it's a 3-bedroom house now. Before it was a 5-bedroom house. How do you sell a 3-bedroom house like that? Because like normally, like, you know, like if you're a family, you go and you buy a place, like you got to have at least 4 bedrooms if you got like at least 1 kid, right? So if you got 1 kid at least, you know, you got to have like it, or 2 kids, or you know, like a guest.
Well, yeah,
room
because
and all
yeah,
that.
you want that guest room, maybe a playroom or slash office slash overflow room, kids room, master bedroom. Like that's 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if you don't have that overflow playroom, you want to have some sort of loft or lounge area that's not your communal family room.
Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah, just crazy deal. So I was on Mind Muscle podcast.
Oh yeah, how
Oh, please.
Mind Muscle Pump. I thought it was good,
How are those hippies doing?
but
I consider those guys hippies.
I think I went off.
They walk around with no shoes.
I think I went off the rails a little bit.
Okay, how about this? How long was the call?
An hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, that's it? So you got through your intro.
Well, yeah, like we cut it at an hour and 20 because like the barbarians were at the gate. The kids were fucking kept coming in. Like it was, and so also we have a problem here at 6:15 every night. The Wi-Fi turns off and then it reboots at like a much slower speed. So like,
And that's in here or in your house?
at the house.
Okay.
So like the Wi-Fi, like all of a sudden, and I saw it was like 6:13 and I was talking, all of a sudden it hit like 6:15, Wi-Fi shuts off, and then I go to get back on, and like it's just a weird deal. They turn it off and then they reduce the speeds because I checked there's like I have like a extender router, and like the extender I can check the speed, and the speed diminishes.
That doesn't sound like anything I'm aware of. So I'm not, I'd call those guys. I mean, if you need me to call those guys and get them out here, but odds are it's something on that end. It wouldn't be at this switch. It wouldn't be any of these routers. There's no timer set on any of the access points.
Could they just throttle it down at night?
No way. Not on fiber line.
Yeah.
I would say good call. Because now, oldest rule in show business, you left them wanting more.
No, they texted me and then we got back on and finished. But
I'll look into that though, John. But I'm pretty sure because I do have packet logs on most of this stuff.
it's the weirdest thing. Like it was like right at 6:15, it just shuts down.
And if we do get any sort of downtime, like we get alerted, both you and I would get a text if there's a switch down.
Okay. Interesting. Well,
So it's not their end.
meditate on it.
Can you show me those logs by a chance? Maybe that could help me.
Yeah,
Whatever's on your extender?
I should screen cap it. I don't think it like shows a log, but I'll
Okay.
screen cap it. If it does it tonight, I'll show you. They made the mistake of asking, so how do you think sport is going to be affected because of the coronavirus? Like, how does it go?
Like what kind of sport? Like the
like-
sport of exercise?
Like
No,
professional
talking
sports,
real
like
sports.
real sports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like real
Nice.
sports.
Good one.
But
Was this
like,
the
like my thought was like, you know, like how do you social distance playing rugby league? How do you, you know, rugby, look, Aussie rules like in all their sports. You know, the only one that they said like kind of doable is cricket. And I was like, oh, okay. But he's like, people like they have thousands of people go to these games. How do they? So that was a pretty interesting discussion, which took me down the rabbit hole of my present thought, where you know, for all the research and everything that they're doing, like the one thing that nobody's talking about, which I appreciate, is like how come there's no stimulus package if we know that strengthening the immune system and being in the best shape of your life, fit enough to fight off the disease or the virus is our greatest asset. Then like why isn't there a stimulus package for gyms? Why isn't there a stimulus package for health? And like why are we like why have we avoided this conversation? I mean, if 300,000 Americans die each year from obesity related deaths, all of a sudden we're freaking out at 61,000 dying from this virus, and it's this terrible thing. But like, dude, like we don't care about that part. We're not.
I think it's
we're not banning forks and fast food and doing the other stuff.
But I don't know that listen, I'm not saying I agree with this statement, but I would bet that experts don't agree what makes you fat or what makes you fit. I bet as we know, if they're going to rely on peer-reviewed scientific literature to drive the best practices of health and wellness, they're never going to find anything that fucking aligns.
Well,
right?
All the research points to overconsumption of calories.
Okay.
So like you can talk about like, oh, I have hormonal problems, it's the insulin. If you look at all that stuff fixes itself with caloric restriction.
So you're saying there's no peer-reviewed study that with certain medical conditions, even in a hypocaloric state, people can be obese. There's got to be a fucking study out there that says that contradicts exactly what you said. Like there's no fucking way.
Most of the studies that I've looked at, almost every one, shows that even in those situations in a medically controlled deal, when caloric restrictions applied, they lose weight.
I think it's easier for us to say, point the finger at COVID or point the finger
It is
there.
than dealing with something like
than
this.
say, I need to. What's the old? You got three fingers pointing back at you.
I thought
I
it was
need to. I forget.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
21 away, you got 3 back.
We are creating a villain over there versus looking in the mirror.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm sure whoever they would put in charge as the czar of health and fitness, somebody would be attacking them.
Exactly.
Or-
and then everyone would be So that's like, there's no, I don't know why. And like a good example is this, which is the mask article that you sent me yesterday, that people are like, there's contradicting studies. And they're like, well, we don't know what to fucking believe here, and like it becomes this area of unknown, and no one's willing to commit because when there's contradicting information, if you pick a side and you're wrong, you're held accountable and liable.
Well, I think we can pretty much assume that if you eat less. Yeah, I know.
I know what side I'm signing up for sure.
Right,
But
like-
I just like,
What's crazy to me is gyms are banned, are closed.
Oh, yeah.
But fast food's open. We can it.
and then there's like this whole cascading socioeconomic issue too. And I'm with you. Like if the stimulus package went to that, then like people are just gonna buy fast food.
Yeah,
Because
it's cheap.
You get the Diet Coke. As long as you're getting Diet Coke, like you can use your stimulus money. As long as you're getting
It's
a grilled chicken salad with extra dressing, like,
and ranch,
Yeah,
where it's
exactly.
3,000 calories.
But so like that's where the tricky thing is, and it's sad, but man, I hope that's like, it probably sounds like a pessimistic view, but how can you change that behavior cycle? Like behavior change is the issue.
Yeah.
That's the heavy lift here.
Well,
I do like the stimulus package concept of like, hey, listen, okay, here's your best defense. Get healthy. Let's invest in that.
Yeah.
Okay, now what do? Everyone's so fucking unhealthy, they don't fucking know, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just bonkers.
Well, I mean, or you have to, and I hate to say it, but it's like the people that are most susceptible to this thing tend to be the people that are obese and the people that have the most amount of risk and the most amount of pre-existing conditions. So like all of a sudden you have a disease that basically that proves and preys upon your lack of fitness because all of a sudden decreased lung function and all the other stuff. And or from what, red blood cells or whatever whatever Rob was talking about. But you get in that situation, and now how hard you've trained, how hard you've prepared is going to be your
pays dividends.
Yes, that's your ticket.
So
for
what
survival.
were the boys in Australia saying?
They were, I don't know. They, I think that, I really don't remember what they said. But then they also they talked about Power Athlete Radio. We talked about the ACO course. I fucking went off on the ACO course, which was good. Then they asked a lot about like Power Athlete methodology and how it all kind of came in the different programs. And so I fucking went off on that. But they were like, you guys have a podcast. Who are 3 guests or 4 guests that you would love to have on your podcast that you've not had on the podcast? And I was like, my number 1, Edward Snowden. After listening to that podcast with Rogan, I was so
Snowden,
mad.
Big. I'm trying to think of the power athlete equivalent, like big golfer.
Big hitter, the llama.
yeah, big hitter. Snowden, big Jack Street guy. Big BFR guy. He'd be a good one.
I think, and I even said, I know that we're a podcast based around strength conditioning, and that's really our goal. But I'm like, I would love to have somebody on. Yeah. He also paid us a nice compliment. He's like, we're avid listeners of Power Athlete Radio, and he goes, you guys have such great conversations and such great questions. You always pull out the best information from the guests, and I thought, I was like, man, that's really interesting, because we don't really prep in the same way, but I think what we do is we get the people rolling, and they feel comfortable, and then we have a good conversation. But I went into it, I was like, I read Snowden's book, and I listened to him on Joe Rogan, and I was disappointed that Joe Rogan wasn't more engaging and really pinning him up and investigating reporter. I would have, when I went through the questions I would have asked, which you guys have heard me rant about. So went through that, and I think they weren't expecting that one. And then the next one, who was the other one I said? Snowden. Oh, I'd love to have Joe Rogan on. I think Rogan would be great. And then the other one would be Vladimir Putin. I think Putin would be great. I mean, that dude was head of the KGB. Right?
I get it.
Right.
He speaks English.
Russia collapse. All of a sudden it's in chaos. And that dude rises to be president.
Blood.
And here's the crazy thing. I read this whole thing on, I'm kind of fascinated with Putin. I read this whole deal where this guy did about a 10-year piece of research where he went through and he wasn't able to actually prove it on paper, but has enough anecdotal stuff to prove that Putin is the richest man in the world.
Because he owns up everybay's shit, right?
Oh yeah, so
part of the socialist deal is
No, it's not socialist. He just big bank, little bank.
Yeah,
he just took it. So they were going through, but yet he shows nothing on paper, and there's no way to tie him to any of this stuff, other than these really weird shell corporations. He owns something like 57 mansions. He owns thousands of cars. He has 20 planes. He owns, he's the largest shareholder in the largest gas and power thing in Russia, and this, and he has this and this. He owns miles on the Baltic, all this stuff.
Yeah, it's if you have that ownership, it represents this amount of wealth.
Oh
or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So they were going through and the banks, and he's owns all of these banks, and all the banks that do this. Dude, so they estimated his wealth at $260 billion, which is double that of Bezos. And so, but yet he just gets up there and said, "I'm just a poor servant of the people," and they on paper makes $50,000 a year, but yet and they're like, "Oh, he just has access to these he fucking owns it all." So I read this whole thing, and this guy fucking went out and investigated the whole thing, got chased by people, and it's a pretty amazing thing of him trying to uncover Putin's wealth. But I mean, can you imagine being head of the KGB? The thing collapses, and you're in position to basically run that company or country indefinitely. There's no presidential election, or if he does, he just gets elected every year. It's just, it's pretty amazing. And what I talked about, I said, when George Washington was president, they tried to get him to stay. They were just you stay president. He's like, I've done my job. Let somebody else lead.
He's got a quote.
He's got a great quote. And I'm going to paraphrase it, but he said, he goes, it's career, basically career politicians destroy everything. It's your social responsibility as as a citizen to step forward and lead, and then step away and let other people lead. You know, that's kind of the paraphrase deal. And the thing that I said is that our founding fathers spoke against career politicians because they become detached and aren't connected to the people anymore. They live up in the ivory tower and they don't know, because they don't run businesses, they don't run jobs, they're not entrepreneurs, they're not living and working in this thing. And they just, and we're seeing it too with, Nancy Pelosi's, who was over here with, did you guys see that video where she's standing? No. Oh, it was great, where they were like, how are you getting through quarantine? And she showed this Jenny's ice cream, which is like, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks a quart. And she opens it up, and the thing that I freaked out about is she has double Sub-Zeros side by side, like the big $20 plus $1,000 ones. Like she walked in front of them, and I was like, oh God, like my dream is to own one of those Sub-Zeros. Not she's got two Sub-Zeros side by side clamshelled, and I absolutely love kitchen appliances.
Yeah.
Like when you walk into somebody's kitchen and you see double Sub-Zeros, you're like, holy shit.
Well, for sure. Number one, the space that occupies is indicative of, like, okay, so a fridge probably occupies 5% of like kitchen wall space. So if you have double enormous Sub-Zeros in like fucking 80 cubic feet of fridge storage, what does that say about the rest of the area?
So my dad knew her and her husband. And my dad never liked her, and also thought her husband was a piece of shit. And they were just when she got in, very modest. And then her husband, I think what my dad told me, I'm going to paraphrase this because I can't remember exactly, but he got a deal through her where his company became like the sole contractor, let's say, to redo every post office in the United States. So his company would go in, hire contractors, redo post offices, be paid by the government, and they went in, and all of them, to redo and remodel, and then was able to take that money, which was, in excess of, hundreds, millions and millions of dollars, and then parlayed that into real estate deals in the area that he was getting into, because of insider trading and being able to put that stuff in doesn't affect them. Oh, and now she's worth a shit ton of money. Wow. Worth a ton.
So Washington's got this giant farewell address, and half of it's in English, in which we don't speak anymore. But the bottom line is that he warns America for the love of power. The love of power and proneness will lead to a proneness to abuse it, which will blah, 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 lead to the end of truth.
Well, but I've always said career politicians. When I see that somebody's been in Congress or been in D.C. for 40 years, that's like an instant turnoff to me. That's why, Biden's up there talking about all this, and Trump, and I'm like, Trump's only been there 4 years? You guys have been there for 40. Like, all the problems can't be just his. Pelosi and them. Like, I've always disliked the idea of career politicians. They get to D.C., they forget who they are, and they forget where they came from, and they're just trying to get elected to go back. And I think it's a problem. And the thing I said about Trump, I'm like, I think Trump's kind of, makes a lot of outlandish claims, and is kind of a bit of a crazy person. He's got crazy hair, his suits are ill fitting. I was like, for me, I was so excited when Arnold Schwarzenegger got elected as governor. You know why? He came out in like the most impeccable Armani suits, like ties, hair perfect. I just loved it. I love the fact that he looked and dressed for the job. Like he looked the part. He was in shape. He got up and spoke, and when it was eloquent, it was good. Everything was written for him. I just think it's kind of like I want to know that you're taking the job seriously, so you put forth the effort. And other people are like, oh, Trump's too busy for this, and he doesn't. And I'm like, yeah, man, but like you're a billionaire. Like have a tailor come in and really give you a nice cut suit. Like the long ties, just in the hair, it just looks weird to me. So like that's kind of hard. And I don't think that he preps enough for when he gets up and gives these briefs. It feels very like, and maybe things are moving at such a fast speed, but I don't know, man, like that kind of bothered me a little bit, but we talked about that, and I'm like, but the one thing, he's run a business, he's an entrepreneur, he's been in commerce and chose to do this. Why? This is the worst job on the planet. can you imagine being president of the United States? Everything that you've done is second guess. Everything you do is wrong. And the fucking media is sitting there like sharks trying to attack you the whole time. Like, at what point does he get up there and be like, I'm just trying to fucking do the best I can and save people's lives. Fuck you for second guessing me. Like, that's what I want to hear him say to the media. Because the media, like, it just seems like fucking bullshit to me. But my comment is, I don't know if our founding fathers, who were some of the smartest people ever to walk the globe, could have foresaw what would happen in the United States in terms of the magnitude and the size. So I think personally, and this is just purely me, the way that we've set it up with one person like a president, I think is kind of antiquated. I think what you need is almost like a board, like 3 or 4 or 5 people that sit in that position, that are people that have proved themselves of worth, like captains of industry, people that have proved themselves to be intelligent leaders, that look upon it for like social responsibility. Like a guy like, you gotta like, and I'm not saying Bill Gates, because that guy kind of scares me with this whole new world order, everybody should get vaccinated stuff.
But as an example, right?
Yeah, but like Elon Musk and those type of guys.
But even throw Bill Gates would be one guy on there who has that opinion, get someone on the other side.
But yeah, like, of course, Elon Musk, and you find people Mark Cuban, people that have like run successful businesses, understand how things are going, and are also not in like the same sphere. So you have like a guy like Mark Cuban on one side, you got like, a Bill Gates, you got Elon Musk, you got some of these guys who are really sharp and understand how to use private businesses, negotiated, international, and you bring those guys in and you let those guys sit in a kind of a board that has checks and balances. To me, that feels like a better situation.
But isn't that what the state representatives are supposed, like, isn't that how the hierarchy is supposed to work? Local government to state to federal, like, supposed to. Isn't that how they tried to build that out? Because in theory, our representatives out here in Travis County, right? They have their thumb on the pulse of the who's who of Travis County, and their constituents are supposed to. I'm not saying they do.
Well,
right?
But
that hierarchy could serve. It's just that.
I'm not saying that we get rid of those, right? We still live them.
But there's another check and balance.
But I think standing up as one person, like you put one guy out there to be your president and use your leader. I think, and especially you think about like, so here's the other problem too, right? Nobody of any real stature, anybody of real fucking like the people we want are never going to go do that job. You know why? Because one, they're not going to go through that bullshit. They're not going to deal with that nonsense, and they're not going to deal with any of this stuff. Right? Like, can you imagine if you're a billionaire, like a guy like Mark Cuban, you think he's looking at Trump and being like, I want to do that job? No. Nobody wants to do that job. That's what's amazing to me about Trump. And this is the only saving grace, like that always ticks me in his mind. I'm like, that dude's a billionaire in his 70s. He gets to golf every day. Like, he does deals, he's on TV shows, he's got kids and grandkids and family. Why would he fucking take his pretty good life? Like, I would say he's got a pretty cool life. He's got Largo Mar, bitchin' fucking place down in Florida. You got a hot, like, European or Eastern European wife. Like, you got kids, like, and all of a sudden you're going to thrust your family and your kids and your wife and all your business into this fucking cesspool.
But as much as that could be inspiring, it could also be a red flag, couldn't it? Because it could just be this hunger for power,
100%.
which erodes the fabric of truth.
So I think there's certain people that view things as like, hey, this is my social responsibility. Like, I really appreciate Dan Crenshaw's just honesty with a lot of stuff. I really enjoyed listening to him just because he speaks from this pretty honest point of view. Like, hey, I'm telling you what's happening. This is what's really happening. I'm not trying to win your vote. I'm just going to give you an honest opinion. And I really appreciate that. But I feel like...
He's Houstonian.
Yeah, he's from Houston. So I think for a guy like Trump, like, is it a power thing? Is it a social responsibility? Why would this dude want to do this job?
I'm with you. Like, I'm just providing balance maybe to the equation, and I don't know either. It's pretty perplexing, and like
But what if there was like they got rid of that position and we formed a board and it was people that were like selected that didn't want to do the job. I mean, or like felt like, okay, I don't want to do this job, but it's my social responsibility to like not fuck this thing up.
But I feel like you could build, and here's where I'm thinking, and I don't know if this makes sense, so check me. And no, I'm not tripping on mushrooms or anything, but like we have a geographical map of the United States. there's got to be another way to map out industry that gives you perceived geography of industry, right? Like there is, like Silicon Valley very much exists in Silicon Valley, but that industry is scattered all over the country, right? Then there is the Midwest
production and
yeah,
trucking.
in union and that. So there's now like but that industry as well is kind of scattered, right? And then some of that industry is also offshore. So there's now like an international representative. So if you could
if you could find like
let's say that
a
was
champion of each one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe it's made up of 50, and then there's like the small business, the mom and pop shops, the self-funded, the solopreneurial people, the 10 to 40 employee businesses, and these all can actually be classified with the national NAICS codes or whatever. But like maybe like that becomes a topography, and that becomes another branch. I hate to say of government, but like I have no other way to really explain it because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But if those people also had say to represent the business,
well, they
and not just the citizens,
they were also
there is kind
talking
of like
about like the CARES Act. Like, what do you think? And I was like, well, where do you think that was it $2 trillion CARES Act? I was like, where do you think that money came from? And they were like, oh, taxes. I'm like, no, we have a fiat currency. They just turned on the printing presses. So like they just printed extra money. Like, can you imagine? Like, hey, I got to go to the store. I don't have any money. I'm gonna go turn on my computer and I'm gonna print some money, cut it up, and go hand it in.
Babe, print up some of those 20s.
Yeah, that's it, right? And that's our fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. It's just fucking paper.
That is scary.
And that's a scary thing for me. And like, so like you see these things, like we come off the gold standard, we have this fiat currency, they just fucking turn on printing press. That's where you get inflation. Next thing you know, a cup of coffee is fucking $30 and you're living in Venezuela.
Not my coffee.
Right? But like that's
cheap shit.
That to me is like it is a huge problem. And then what do? We hand out stimulus checks, and it's like there's zero personal accountability. Then we got into this idea of like standardized healthcare, which I was like, oh man, like, and I told the story of the guy I was sitting next to the Danish guy. How can you be in standardized healthcare with a pool of people that don't care about their health? And the analogy was, let's say you're in the pool with a whole bunch of people and everybody's having a good time, and one dude pisses in there. You've ruined the pool, right? Now nobody wants to put their head underneath.
Well,
I'm okay with the pee.
Encore pool party in Vegas, it's all piss.
Yeah,
right?
I'm thinking it's not pee. It's definitely like shit the pool.
Yeah. I'll go with that one. That's a better one, right?
Yeah.
So
If
some dude
pool.
shits in the pool. Next thing you know, you're out of the fucking water. But like his analogy, he said pee, but that's a way better one. Like that's the analogy. He's like, how can you be swimming in a pool with a bunch of people that just shit in the pool? And so, his deal is like, you can't be in a standardized, socialized healthcare system where the pool of people don't give a fuck about their health, and they celebrate it. Like and that was the thing that the dude like flipped out. He's like, I've never seen a country where people are more proud and get cheered for their gluttony. He's like, the TV shows where people are eating themselves sick, and people, go out and they have all these crazy things, and people, like, hey, here's this burger with like 40 pieces of cheese and 100 patties and the whole deal. And he's like, it sounds amazing to me, but he's like, people cheer those people. He's like, how
Man versus food.
right? Yeah, but he said in Sweden and those other countries, they become ostracized because you are a drain upon the economy. You are fucking stealing from me by you being unfit. And I was like, I always think it's great when you take an international flight and you sit next to somebody, from another country who just starts getting so passionately fucking angry about what's happening in America, and you're like, how come I'm not this angry about my own country?
I had one experience in Dubai, of all places in the world, literally using that phrase appropriately, but just a political discussion, because this was, I forget the year, but it was during Obama's term. So 14, 15, or 16, sometime during that. And just his interpretation of America was just very eye-opening to me. And I was just entertaining the conversation. I was not on one side or the other. Just like trying to figure out like, what are you hearing? What is your news telling you? And I was fascinated.
I'll tell you, for all the, like the stuff I didn't like about Obama, the one thing I always appreciated about him is he was always impeccably dressed. He was always very, very well spoken and unbelievable off the teleprompter. Like his speeches, the way that he paused and the dramatic and here and the other. one of the most eloquent speakers I've heard, and like very, very well groomed. Like always looked the part. Like I just appreciate.
Presidential.
He looks.
Right?
He looks presidential.
And like, so he was on the. Did you watch Last Dance yet?
No.
So they interview him on like a quick segment.
Oh,
right?
he's from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And
Illinois.
stand out. Like just you're like, oh yeah, you know.
Yeah.
That guy is pretty switched on.
You know, he worked with Arthur Joseph
Oh, yeah.
for over a decade.
Yeah.
And I've told you guys the story about Oprah paying for it and flying out Arthur Joseph. And like, you know, he worked with him at least once a week for over 10 years to help craft that and like these pieces. And I mean, but what I appreciate on that is like, take the time to study for the test. Do the body of work that allows you to stand up there and to like, just be presidential.
And it's not.
But is there value to the counterculture? Isn't that part of his shtick?
I don't know, because I'm with you on this, John, because it is there's no real secret on how to do that. Like it's not very complex. Everyone knows what they need to do to make, for the most part, to improve, or there's something within their sphere of awareness to improve the quality of whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's like you want to become a better dresser, you know what you have to do. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to pay?
Yes.
Are you willing to ask? Are you willing to feel weird in your outfit? Like, do you want to be a better writer? Are you willing to spend more time on your outline? Are you willing to spend?
Are you willing to find a coach and somebody else?
Like these things are not crazy, and they're like everyone's aware of them, but how many people are willing to do them?
Well, it's kind
And
of
if
like,
you're not willing to, like that to me is red flag, which goes back to what you're saying with Trump. Like you can't. Every fucking president, almost every president that I have seen give addresses, like they're more prepared and eloquent, and his selection of words is broader.
His State of the Union, Trump's State of the Union, his most recent one, was probably the best I've seen him speak.
Oh, really?
He also, somebody wrote the speech, obviously, because they all have speech writers, but he spoke off the teleprompter. He stayed on the teleprompter, and it was actually good. But the thing is like, you guys know this. Have you guys ever like bought a suit and then like not worn it for a while, and then put it on and realized I've either lost weight or gained, whatever it is, and all of a sudden the suit is ill-fitting, and then you have to wear it? Like, to me, I fucking, like, won't go. Like, I will, like, speak, no, the suit doesn't fit, right? Like, like, when I go get a suit, and then, like, I'm a big dude, so, you get it tailored done, and, like, to put on a suit that's actually built for you, cut for you, and fits perfectly, you slip that thing on, it's like a tailor-made suit, right? Like, you get in, right, and you feel like it just presents, like, and when people see it, they're like, oh, this guy did what he was supposed to do. He didn't look like a fucking asshole. So, like, for me, and maybe this is just coming from my dad telling me this the entire world, like don't look like a, what do you say? A buffoon, I think is what my dad would say. Be like, yeah, don't look like a buffoon in a, ill-fitting suit. So like
how do I not look like a buffoon? Like,
right? Yeah. Get your suit tailored,
don't.
right? Right. And if you gain some weight, take it in and get them brought in. Like always make sure, right? But my dad, and my brothers, they wear suits every single day. Like my brother Ed wears them to court. My dad wore a suit every single day of his life, but that's as an attorney. So that was very important, to the point where like I'll run into people and be like, man, your brother dresses impeccable, because he gets that from my dad. Like, and every time he like if the suit looks worn, he throws it out and gets a new one. He has his own tailor, everything's cut, and he walks into that courtroom as a defense attorney, and there's no doubt in anybody's mind, from the judge to the defendant, anybody, the bailiffs, that this is a defense attorney who gets paid big money, that drives a Porsche, that's defending people for your life. You don't want the guy coming in with like the tweed and the fucking dragging this and looks like shit long day. No, you look like a fucking asshole. And you know what? And like that's part of doing the job, is looking the part. Like as an offensive lineman in the NFL, right? You're gonna make me stand out there in negative sub-degree weather with no shirt on and sleeves. Dude, you better see some tricep and some bicep, right? That's part of the deal, right? I mean, that's what you do.
Non-communication power, big swinging dick energy.
It is, but like, look the fucking part. And when I see Trump, like the suits, like I'm like, what the fuck is this guy wearing? Like the suit, the pants are too big, the suit, the ties are super long. It just looks ridiculous to me, and the hair is all crazy. Like I get that, oh, he's an eccentric billionaire, and I think people make excuses, but at the end of the day, nobody just said, hey, dude, like, or you think his ego is so big, he's like, what do you mean? I look amazing.
I think the trend points to that. Now, I don't know. Also, it could be the counterculture and just like it's a big joke and everyone's in.
This pisses everybody off.
Yeah,
I've won the meeting, or
Yeah.
Maybe.
because they're
But-
distracted by this.
Speaking of looking the part,
Oh,
a method and means of looking the part, I think, is carrying broad shoulders, a pumped chest, a thick neck, Texas into that big time, set of traps, and this also happens to be exactly what the origin of Power Athlete, the seedling, aka CrossFit football, was guaranteeing everybody around the world.
And it fucking delivered.
And it delivered.
It just didn't deliver. It kicked the fucking door off of the hinges.
I can't, if I had a nickel for every time someone's like, hey, are those cantaloupes on your shoulders or are those your delts? During those days, man, holy cow, right?
Well, you
All
know
the
what's
time.
weird is that one time somebody got hit in the back with an ice pick, like an axe, because they thought it was Mount Everest for traps. They were trying to
no,
climb it.
I've heard that story many times.
Yeah.
So a question comes in today. We have 10 minutes. What are, Tex?
would love to hear about some benchmark CrossFit football WODs you guys are fans of. You referenced the kettlebell swing one with Ryan Fisher on Power Athlete Radio, and I gave it a go. It was epically brutal. Would really love hearing about some more workouts like that. Great stuff. Love the show.
I'm going to start because this is one that everyone should have in their arsenal if they don't already, in my personal opinion. 10 minutes, as many rounds as possible, 10 true push-ups, 10 supine ring pulls. That gets you right for Friday night, and you should, it is not a problem. And I remember trying to break 12 on that. I just couldn't do it. I always got stuck on the supine pulls. I'd burn out.
Yeah.
But if you can get 12 rounds in 10 minutes, you are guaranteed a potential mate by the end of the night.
So we did that workout for 10 minutes. We did it for 12. We did it for 15, and then one time we pushed it to 20.
It's impossible.
And the goal was to get 20 rounds in 20 minutes. And I remember my brother Eddie and I doing it at Old Balboa, not like the second place, not the third place. And we were able to hold pretty good at like 1 round a minute. And we got to the end of it, and I was like, I'll never do this for 20 rounds again. I was like, I couldn't straighten my arms, my triceps were cramping.
15.
It just ends up being like 200 push-ups and 200 supine ring rows. You're kipping them up, and we were using the Ruiz squeeze the physio balls,
Nice.
which I think is actually easier for me. But the
Because
problem
it distracts you from the
from the awfulness. So we did that, but I think 10 minutes. If you can get 12 rounds in 10 minutes, that's fucking
Yeah, you're
legit,
cooking.
too.
Yeah,
do you got?
I don't know if it was the first one, but one of my first ones, 10-1 kettlebell swing to sprint. So
That's
10 kettlebells,
40-yard sprint.
and then I think it was a 40.
It was a 40. So you put 2 kettlebells. So there's one at one end, one at the other. So you swing, sprint 40. Because the original way I did it was actually on a Woodway treadmill. So it was swings, and then I would sprint 40 as fast as I could on the Woodway and jump off. That was the way the workout started.
Yeah. So I just that was training to me, because again, post college, searching for something. It's like lift weights, run as fast as you can. I'm in.
For me, and this is funny that you've thrown 2 kettlebells in a row. I think monkey claws.
Yeah, that's the one that we talked about on the Ryan Fisher
Yeah.
podcast.
Well, I didn't do that workout with Ryan Fisher. We did the 15 swings, alternating minutes on the assault bike. So max calorie. So it was 20 minutes. You do alternating minutes of 15 swings with the 2 pood, and then it's max calories on the assault. And we did that. That was pretty spicy. I wish my conditioning was a little bit better, because he ended up fucking the last round ended up fucking hammering me and beating me, which I was pretty upset about. But monkey claws was 30 swings in a minute, rest a minute, and then it's every other minute. You do, so you get 5 rounds. That one, like when we got done, the reason we called it monkey claws was that my hands were stuck like this, and I was like, I couldn't pick anything up, and I was like, ah.
I am in the camp of misreading that workout and doing 10 rounds. So imagine 20 minutes versus a 10 minute.
There's no way.
You've done that, is what you said.
And people would then make that mistake on the message boards.
Well, if you remember the way that I wrote it, the way I wrote it the first time might have caused confusion. And then what I would do is I wrote it again, and then I had like 2 or 3 other, like, this is for 5 rounds, alternating minutes. The whole workout should take
the
you
triple.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I had to build
Simple.
in
That's simple.
stupidity because I couldn't believe people were fucking it up.
Another notable, but I wouldn't say like benchmark is when I had moved out there and we were working on some of those workouts together. I think we programmed a 10-to-1 body weight bench press, reverse wall walk to push up. And like Benny Cakes and I benchmarked it. It was like 12 or 15 minutes, right? And it was like really drudgy. So you could push real hard, but then you had to like navigate, right?
Yeah.
So it was like mostly, and remember people were logging like, 75 minutes. And we're like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
And it was
I
that
remember
reverse
doing
wall
that
walk.
at DuPont.
The reverse wall walk, when we tested it, we did the 10 down to 1, which I think I ended up changing it to like 3.
Yeah, it was like, it would be 10-to-1, it ended up being 10-to-1 bench press,
And then
55 reps
and
bench
then it'd
press,
be
but
like
only
3.
30,
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Because, no, remember Corona and DeGrazia, I don't know if you were there, but Corona and DeGrazia were at the gym and like worked through the class, then like another class. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we have 4 more rounds. And I'm like, holy shit, it's like 55 minutes.
On Saturdays, my brother Ed would come and coach when we were gone, and the only workout he knew was Linda 3 bars of death, which is body 10 down to 1. Was it power cleans, deadlifts, and bodyweight bench press. But one day when I went there, like Eddie was coaching the class. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna jump in?" And I was like, "Yeah, what are we doing?" He's like, "We're gonna do that 3 bars of death." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I look up and he writes up back squats. So it was power cleans, bench press instead of deadlifts. It was back squats. And I'm like, he's fucking this thing up. Ah, fuck it, let's give it a
I
shot.
feel like that's
So-
what was posted.
And I feel like I did post it. And so normally, like, we could do 3 bars of death in like sub 30 minutes. All of a sudden, we were at like 75 minutes, 80 minutes.
Good old Saturdays.
Because it was bench press body weight, 75%. It was 1.5 times body weight back squats, I think is what it was. And then it was bench press at body weight 70, or maybe it was power cleans at body weight 75% bench. I can't remember how it worked, but we totally fucking just swapped the deadlift for the squat at the same weight. And I'm like, I remember doing like the first set I did 10, and then the next one I think I did like on the 9 I did like 4, and 1. So I was having to break up the back squats. And and he's like, this is a lot longer than I remember. I'm like, well, yeah, you put back squats in. He's like, oh fuck, I did. Oh shit, should we go back and do deadlifts? I'm like, fuck you.
What do you got?
I'm going, I forget the exact name, but I think it was CrossFit Football Grace. So it was like 15 power clean and jerks, gasser. 10,
Yeah.
gasser. 5, gasser. So basically anything with a gasser, just fucking big fan of. Go lift weights and run fast.
Gassers are terrible.
The
Half gassers are like, I go like, that's like the 100, the 106. But when you start getting into the 212 with the
What
the
I
gasser,
also loved on your FAQ, you had to explain what a gasser was. So I guess almost implied, like that was like the last question added in there because you got so many people were asking, like,
yeah,
what?
CrossFit
Well, I-
suck bags.
I just assumed everybody knew what a fucking gasser was. If you ask anybody that played any form of football, they've had to run gassers. Like that's like a hallmark. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean that's like when we were kids, right? Did you guys play Smear the Queer?
Yeah.
Okay, right? Did we know each other? No. I'm older than you. Like, how did you know to play Smear the Queer? Nobody knows. Everybody
just
just knew.
did.
Everybody knew it, right? Like, somebody's brother was like, I know this game called Smear the Queer, and everybody knew about it, right? We don't know where it started. We don't know how it all began. It's the same thing with gassers. Like, nobody's ever gone on and been like, oh, here's the official gasser thing. But everybody that's ever played high school football knows what a fucking gasser is. So what was amazing to me when the CrossFit football started, I'm like, did you guys not? How many of you guys played high school football? And I realized a lot of people didn't.
How many more you got, Tex?
Fire
round.
Fire round, the Tillman, Kalsu, just those days that I feel like these are coach workouts where people would come together. You would never give it to one of your athletes, but you're like, I'm going to make myself suffer today. So those are in it. And then the final one, I got to give it up for Wade.
Yeah.
So just that barn burner and killer still to this day, there's no winning. It's just...
No, I can vouch that you did not win this year. The one I
Oh, hey!
I'm just saying, we can go to the film if you want.
Previous years?
The one I do want to give it up for, because I do remember, like, just changing perspective on my training was 100 push-ups for time, right? But every break, you're up, push-up start for 40 yards. And like, you didn't fucking see that on any other site. And you probably still don't. You know, no one's doing that shit. And man, some good stuff. I think we're like on the last 30 seconds. You got any workouts that you remember writing, John?
All of them.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny Wad 100 is rolling.
Yeah, dude, we got to make that into an ebook.
I was thinking about that too. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us this morning. From the crew, here's to you. Here's to you. And go to powerathletehq.com. Third Monkey is a free training program. Power Athlete Radio is a free podcast. It's the premier podcast in strength and conditioning. And it has the best guests ever. Good day. Goodbye.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morrow.
Good morrow.
Good morning.